Can you imagine an 8.9 earthquake? I'm Mark Levin. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Our West Coast, the waters did rise, no thanks to global warming, but as a result of the tsunami. I checked with my son out there in the L.A. area. No big damage that he's aware of anyway, in KABC country and so forth, but massive damage in Japan. Some damage in Hawaii. But if you go to the Drudge Report, there's a number of links up there, including this one. Radiation levels at the damaged nuclear power plant are continuing to rise. Radiation 1,000 times higher than normal detected. A ministry official said possibility of radioactive leak. It's amazing that building is still standing when you look at the mass amount of ocean that came on shore. Also, the military did not provide any coolant. Earlier, Hillary Clinton said the Air Force had sent assets there to be used. That's not correct. It didn't make sense to me anyway, because you actually have to organize and get to the place. The USS Ronald Reagan is on the way, as well as about a half a dozen other ships that are loading up with whatever they need to load up with. The USS Ronald Reagan is the closest of the carriers, apparently, to Japan. There's no reports that I'm aware of American deaths. Yes, we have a lot of Americans in Japan, including our military. But there are many deaths there, and nobody knows how many. There has to be with an 8.9. And then there was another one in the mid-6s or upper 6s. Now, I lived through an earthquake. My family and I lived in Sunnyvale, California for a short period of time. And that earthquake that hit out there, what was it, 1989, 1999? I can't remember the exact year. We were about 8-9 miles away from the epicenter. Let me tell you something, as you folks who have experienced it well know, it's damn scary. I mean, it's really scary. It is like a freight train running through your living room. And then there are follow-up tremors and so forth, and you just hope that one of those tremors doesn't turn out to be another massive earthquake. So our heart goes out for all those people, obviously, and let's not forget what happened in New Zealand. So the earth is moving. There's not a damn thing we can do about it. That's what it does. It lets off steam, and the plates move. And when they move, so do we. You just hope for the best. If there's any additional news, I will be the first to bring it to you, particularly with respect to that nuclear reactor. Now, there's several important matters I'd like to discuss with you that affect your lives, all of you, affect all of your lives. It's not NFL football, which I am a fanatic fan of NFL football, and it looks like there will be a lockout now. But I want to continue with one issue because we have an update, and that is Obamacare, and that is federal spending. Many of you were motivated to rally and to protest against Obamacare. At great personal expense, you traveled to Washington several times, or to your state capital, or to other locations to make your views known. Many of you have been organizing for two and a half years to change the Congress because you wanted Obamacare, once it was passed, to be repealed, knowing it wasn't likely because the Democrats control the Senate and the White House. You at least want the House, where the spending bills are initiated, to make an effort to defund it. That's why we sent all these freshmen to Washington. That's why we made John Boehner Speaker of the House. That's why we made Eric Cantor the Majority Leader. We're not interested in timidity. We're interested in some courage, basic courage, political leadership, statesmanship. The American people, you're yearning for it. We don't ever see it on the Republican side, or rarely, by people who are actually in public office. So I want to give you an update on this, because it's not getting any better. And once again, your lives and your society are in your hands. It's not up to somebody else. It's up to you. And I know you get frustrated, you get worn out, but don't let them win. It's a great piece in the Washington Times by Kerry Pickett. And she points out the Republicans ran their 2010 midterm campaigns on chiefly the promise that the Democratic health care law would eventually be repealed, but in the meantime, defunding the entire health care legislation would have to be a way to at least slow down the implementation of the law. H.R. 1 promised to accomplish the defunding of Obamacare, but according to discoveries made by former Republican Oklahoma Congressman now a distinguished fellow at the Heritage Foundation, Ernest Istook. This man's a hero. The health care bill has a mandatory appropriation that would fund the legislation almost a decade into the future. It's in the bill now, and they are spending tens of billions of dollars now to institute Obamacare. Istook's testimony this week about the matter revealed disturbing hidden funding that will make the health care legislation have life. Now, here's what Istook told the Congress, told the House of Representatives in particular this week. He said the massive 2,700-page health care law is deliberately designed to make defunding and dismantlement difficult. He said although original estimates reported it created 159 new government agencies, the Congressional Research Service later concluded the actual number of new agencies, boards, etc., quote, is currently unknowable, unquote, because so many of them are empowered to spawn additional entities, just as weeds grow by sending out runners and seeds. The complexity and confusion extends to the funding process created in that legislation. Istook told Congress the new law attempts to bypass the normal appropriations process, another feature that makes defunding more difficult, by making advanced appropriations for tens of billions of dollars up to the year 2019. These provisions of Obamacare seek to remove spending decisions from the reach of the current Congress and from future Congresses and presidents. This is the tyranny, ladies and gentlemen. This is totalitarian conduct, where one Congress, a temporary supermajority of Democrats, seeks to impose on all Congresses and presidents forevermore their spending decisions, meaning no matter how many times you vote, it cannot be reversed. That's what they're attempting. That is very, very serious business. Istook went on. He said although Obamacare was not pitched to the public as a mandatory spending entitlement, the details of the legislation reveal an intent to block any future Congress from controlling Obamacare spending. As a constitutional attorney, and if you don't mind, an expert in this field, no Congress on a spending bill can permanently bind future Congresses. Otherwise, there'd be no reasons for election, would there? So this should be a complete affront to the new Republican class, the freshmen, the Tea Party candidates who ran and asked for your vote, who promised to vote against Obamacare every chance they get, to defund it every chance they get. This should be an affront to them, because what Pelosi and Obama and Reid tried to do is to tie their hands, to undermine our constitutional process, and an affront to you, because what they're trying to do is deny you your vote, so that if you vote, it doesn't matter. Now, Istook went on. He told Congress one largely unknown fact is that $6 billion or more was immediately appropriated in the new law, so it's gone. And approximately $105 billion more was appropriated for FY 2011 and beyond. That's now and beyond. That violates the typical congressional process of appropriations. The normal process typically involves enacting authorizing bills that authorize the spending and then follows those with separate legislation that actually appropriates the money, because this enables those to be balanced with other spending decisions. So Obamacare contained large authorizations for future spending, as well as containing actual spending. That made it quite different from most bills, even major legislation. He said this funding also stayed below the radar because it was so often reported inaccurately that Congress had not passed any appropriations for the current fiscal year. Well, they had in this bill. He said to defund Obamacare, it is insufficient to simply deny future funding. Until the full law can be repealed, at least the existing and advanced appropriations need to be rescinded, just as the House, listen to this, last month voted to repeal billions of dollars from previous appropriations to 123 federal programs. In other words, this Republican House already voted to rescind current and future appropriations by the last Congress. And he's saying, why won't they do it now with Obamacare? He said an effort to restrict use of the funds appropriated within Obamacare was thwarted because the House didn't waive the same point of order, a House rule, as it waived to allow defunding those other 123 programs. This was most unfortunate. So what he's saying is, you've been hearing, well, we have this rule, and we can't change this rule because we like to follow our rules. Whether Pelosi followed it or not, we are committed to following this rule. We're not going to change it. We're not going to waive it to allow our members in the continuing resolution to defund Obamacare. So the question is, why? You already did it for 123 other programs. Why wouldn't you do it for this? Well, now Boehner says a different answer. He believes rescinding of appropriations in the health care bill can be done through the committee process. That's what he told the author of this piece, Kerry Pickett, yesterday. He said, we made it pretty clear that when we put Obamacare on the floor and the House passed the repeal of that bill, we're going through regular order. I would expect that the committees of proper jurisdiction will bring forward the bill to eliminate mandatory spending that is involved in that bill. Ladies and gentlemen, they're already spending it. What do you mean proper order? Are you a bureaucrat? This is proper order to defund Obamacare, which is unconstitutional, which you ran on and said you would defund in every possible way. What is this fig leaf, this rule that you pretend to hide behind when, in fact, you didn't follow quote-unquote regular order as applies to 123 other programs? So what's going on here, ladies and gentlemen? Why does the Speaker of the House, why is he a coward? I'm going to tell you why. He read Gingrich's book about the shutdown of Congress in the mid-'90s, the shutdown of the government, and he's scared to death that Obama will have the upper hand. Obama will win the argument. He can't guarantee the outcome. So he's not going to put up the fight. And let me tell you another point. After this next 6-month period, they're already in the next election cycle in the House. They're constantly running for office. Next year, they will not threaten to shut down the government. Next year, they will bend over backwards to yet again accommodate Obama. They won't defund Obamacare next year either. What we have now is a cowardly Republican leadership that is spending an enormous amount of time trying to figure out how to pretend they're doing important things when they're not. Well, I want to send a message to all you Republican freshmen now and all you Republican Tea Party candidates and conservatives, no matter who you are. If you vote for this continuing resolution next week, you are voting to fund Obamacare. Everybody knows it. Let me repeat it. If you vote for this 3-week extension, after having voted for a 2-week extension of Obamacare, you are voting to spend billions and billions of dollars, as you did the last time around, to fund Obamacare. You're going to have to answer for that in your town hall meetings, at Tea Party rallies, and I'm going to make sure of it. I hate deception and a lack of integrity. We sent you to Washington to kill this. Now kill it. We'll be right back. I'll tell you what amazes me is how few conservative media outlets are focused on this or give a damn about this, while they play the politics game of Christie and Mitch Daniels and who talks about. I mean, here we are fighting on a major and absolutely crucial matter. But they want to side with the Republican leadership. They don't want to take a stand. When we come back, I want to underscore the fact that we have a Levin surge going on. We'll be right back.